Evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 2024 edition of Vicksburg Planning Commission. Call this meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. Secretary Cox, please take attendance.
Member Ortella? Member Ortella?
Here.
Member Blankenhorn?
Present.
Member Bishop?
Present.
Member Fields?
Here.
Bill Cox is here. Member Ball?
Here.
Member Bailey? Here. And Mr. Yashi is absent.
And I am present
sorry,
as well.
Chairman. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. You have the agenda in front of you. I trust everyone has had time to review it. There are no further questions or comments. I'll call for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Member Wortella, I move to support the agenda as submitted.
Motion from Wortella. Do we have support?
Member Blankenhorn, I support.
Support from Plankenhorn. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We will open it up for citizen comments at this time. If anyone would like to come up, you can come up and share your name and your home address, and time is limited to 4 minutes. Seeing no one move, we will move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is the approval of minutes. You have two sets of minutes in front of you. The regular meeting from April 8th and the special meeting from April 15th. Can entertain a motion to approve both at the same time or individually if you'd like. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Member Bishop. Make a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
We have a motion from Member Bishop. Do you support?
Fields, I support.
Field support. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. And next item on our agenda tonight is our Planning Commission action items. And looks like we have a public hearing for review of the master plan. I will kick it over to staff.
Yes, I'm going to introduce Kyle Mucha to lead us through this. After he gives a brief status as to where the draft master plan is, then it'll be incumbent upon this board to have a motion, support, and roll call vote to open a public hearing. Within the public hearing, we would receive citizen comments. After citizens have been given the opportunity to make comments on the master plan, there'll then be a second motion, support, and roll call vote to close the public hearing, and then we'll come back to the Planning Commission meeting for discussion and staff's recommendation. So with that, Kyle has certainly quarterbacked this endeavor since last fall, and we're well around the third base in the bottom of the ninth, bringing it home. So thanks, Kyle. don't, if board members have comments, we'll take them after the public hearing.
Member Wortella, I move to open the public hearing for the review of the 2024 master plan.
This is Bishop, I support.
Chairman Schenkel,
Yes.
Member Rotella,
Yes.
Member Blankenhorn,
Yes.
Member Bishop,
Yes.
Member Fields,
Yes.
Cox is a yes, Member DeMalt,
Yes.
Member Bailey.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. At this time, we will entertain any public comments, citizen comments on the master plan. Just note that we have 2 people in the audience in addition to Mr. Mucha. Seeing no one jump up to the mic stand, is there any further discussion or presentation from staff or at this time?
After public hearing is closed.
Got it. All right, I will call for a motion to close this evening's public hearing.
This is Member Blankenhorn. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion from Blankenhorn. Do we have support for that?
Member Fields, I support.
Support by Fields. Any further questions or comments? All right, Secretary Cox, please take roll call vote.
Chairman Schenkel,
Yes.
Member Rotella,
Yes.
Member Blankenhorn,
Yes.
Member Bishop,
Yes.
Member Fields,
Yes.
Member Cox is a yes, Member DeMalt. Yes. And Member Bailey, Bailey.
Thank you. Staff?
Yes, staff is recommending a motion, support, and roll call vote to have the Planning Commission make a positive recommendation to the Village Council to adopt the 2024 master plan. Is our intention, next Village Council meeting on May 20th to present the 2024 master plan for Village Council adoption, but Kyle and I will be happy to answer any questions that board members might have.
Any question from Planning Commission members this evening on the master plan?
Member DeVault, will we all receive a copy of the master plan?
Yes. You mean when?
We all have a record of it, or
Yes,
being on the
and you'll have
commission?
a copy of the final one that's adopted, which is the final draft that was. Yep.
Any further comments? All right. Call for a motion regarding the staff recommendation on the 2024 master plan to the council.
This is Member Cox, I so motion.
I have a motion on the table from Member Cox. Do we have support for that motion?
Member Bishop, I support.
Support by Bishop. Any further discussion? Secretary Cox, please take roll call vote.
Chairman Schenkel,
Yes.
Member Rotella,
Yes.
Member Blankenhorn,
Yes.
Member Bishop,
Yes.
Member Fields,
Yes.
Member Cox is a yes, Member DeVault,
Yes.
Member Bailey. Yes.
All right, next item on our agenda is 6C, Public Participation Plan.
Correct. And I appreciate Jackie Coney being present. This is part of the work that Jackie did in the RRC program. A presentation was provided to the council, as well as an invitation. I know Chairman Schenkel was there. The same type of process. We're looking for the Planning Commission's support and ultimate approval with the village council at next Monday's meeting. I will make note on 3 items within the draft plan in front of you. On page 2, so you're aware, reference or page 11, I'm sorry, reference the tree committee terms. It will be presented to the council to have 3-year terms that are initially staggered. So upon the adoption, we'll identify 1, 2, and 3-year commitments from each of the tree committee members, and then that will ensure continuity within that committee moving forward. Also on page 16 and 17, it's noted in the public participation plan with comments on our social media pages. You might have noticed, I think we're 4 to 6 weeks into, we've turned off the comments at the advice of our municipal attorney. So the comments currently are turned off with the advice coming from the municipal attorney, and it's related to a court case not involving Vicksburg and municipalities being attentive to that. And be happy to answer any questions, but I would emphasize a lot of work went into this as a modeled best practice public participation plan, pretty in depth, and it'll be, you know, as representing staff, and we will be committed to following it. So be happy to answer any questions, but looking for a motion, support, and roll call vote for this body's support and recommendation for approval to the council.
How many people participated in this participation plan?
While all of staff, it was presented to the council, as well as distributed to the council and planning commission members, and asked for input individually and at the public meetings. So 23, as well as representatives of RRC with MEDC and other communities that works best for them.
General feedback from that group, how was that kind of viewed?
Initially, it's pretty in-depth plan, but when you really look into it, it's the way to conduct business if you're committed to having the public involved, the transparency of what's going on, and the solicitation of input. So we think it's a best practice model, and one we're committed to follow.
Yeah, maybe my question phrased differently is what was the feedback from the public, the group that attended?
We had very limited input from those that we saw, mainly relied on staff and then the contact with other communities in RRC, but no negative other than it's in depth. That's a negative, but.
Any more questions?
Not really a question, but a comment. I was out of town for when most of this was happening, so I was unable to participate. But looking through all of this, I am a huge proponent of having all of this in writing, specifics laid out there of what the expectations are for some of this stuff. So I think this is kudos to everybody that did the input on this. This is a really great piece of work.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments for staff? If not, I will call for a motion supporting the public participation plan adoption by Village Council.
Member Fields, a motion to support this.
We have a motion by Fields. Do we have support?
This is Member Bishop, I support.
Support from Bishop. Any further questions or comments? This is not a roll call. Is this a roll call vote, Jim?
Yes, I think we should have.
Okay,
this one.
we'll do it to be safe. Secretary Cox, will you please take a roll call vote?
Chairman Schenkel,
Yes.
Chairman, or Member Portella?
Yes.
Member Blankenhorn,
Yes.
Member Bishop,
Yes.
Member Fields,
Yes?
Member Bailey. Yes. Member DeVault,
Yes.
and Member Cox is a yes.
Thank you. Last item on Planning Commission action items is the CIP presentation by Mr. Mallory.
Yes, I think I want to stand for this. I'll move over to the podium. Might be a note that I had here somewhere. Maybe grabbed. Okay, and I just sent you an email as well that I might need a document pulled up, if you can, when I call it. Enclosed in your packet is the capital improvement plan, or simply titled the CIP, which serves as the village multi-year planning instrument used to identify needs, wants, and wishes and potential financing sources for public infrastructure improvements and capital purchases. The purpose of a CIP is to facilitate the orderly planning of infrastructure improvements to maintain, preserve, and protect the village's existing infrastructure system and to provide for the purchase or scheduled replacement of equipment to help ensure the efficient delivery of services that the community desires. The goal to use the CIP as a tool to implement the village's various master plans, goals, objectives, policies, and to assist with the village's financial planning. CIP plays an important role by providing the link between planning and budgeting for capital and non-routine operating expenditures. The CIP process occurs prior to the operating budget process, as the CIP will be used to develop the capital portion of the budget. Approval of the CIP by the Planning Commission does not signify final approval or funding of any project contained within the plan. Rather, by approving the CIP, the Planning Commission acknowledges that they agree that the projects present a reasonable interpretation of the upcoming needs, wants, and wishes for the village and comply with the village's master plan. Generally, the projects contained in the first year of the plan have a probability to be requested in the next year's department requested budget and potentially advance to the manager's recommendations and or village council's approved budget should funding be available. This year's CIP document has expanded to provide a more in-depth explanation of the process, project categories, and funding sources. The document now includes primary strategic goal alignment for each project and additional charts and graphs to add context and enhance the sharing of information. Your participation in this CIP process and thoughtful consideration of the project recommendations contained herein are greatly appreciated. The capital improvement program, the issue of taxes, state funding cuts, cap proposals, i.e. Proposal A, and a potential reduction in local revenue stream are major considerations that a community must address on an annual basis. To balance the needs and wants of the residents, businesses, and visitors, the delivery of services, and the maintenance of its infrastructure, governmental response to today's changing needs must be achieved within the limits of its available resources. Choosing priorities among competing needs become an important element in what is to be the ultimate response. Since it's often impossible to meet the identified needs with the revenues available, requests for expenditures must be prioritized to enable decision makers to eliminate non-essential expenditures. The Village of Vicksburg's capital improvement program is a planning tool with a goal to identify and schedule capital improvements over a 6-year period between fiscal years ending 2024 through 2029. The CIP serves as the village's multi-year planning instrument used to identify needs and financing sources for public infrastructure improvements. Preparation of the CIP is performed under the authority of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. Quoting from that, in quotes, "The capital improvement programs shall show those public structures and improvements in the general order of their priority that the village council's judgment will be needed or desirable and can be undertaken within the ensuing 6-year period. The capital improvements program shall be based on the requirements of the local unit of government of all types of public structures and improvements." End the quote. CIP is an opportunity to formulate strategic long-term policy decisions that extend beyond the 24-25 fiscal year. Each year, the Village of Vicksburg invests significant time and resources to design, construct, and maintain the infrastructure and facilities needed to deliver the municipal services to our residents and businesses. Because of the high cost associated with building and maintaining capital assets, the village must carefully balance the need for such assets with our requirements to sustain a positive, long-term, strong financial position. The Village Council has adopted a capital improvement resolution that establishes guidelines for the reporting and tracking of capital expenditures. These are identified as those items having a value of more than $5,000 per item and have a useful life of at least 3 years following the date of purchase. Capital projects include design and construction, as well as purchasing of land and purchase of capital assets. Maintenance-oriented operational or continuous expenditures are not considered capital improvement. A comprehensive CIP is an essential tool for the planning and development of the social, physical, and economic well-being of our community. This process is a necessary stop in the organized effort to strengthen the quality of public facilities and services, provide a framework for the realization of community goals and objectives, and provide a sound basis on which to build a healthy and vibrant community. Some of the many benefits of a CIP provides residents and that the CIP provides the residents and stakeholders include prudent use of taxpayer dollars, focused attention on community goals, needs, and capabilities, prioritizing projects across the needs of the community, generating community support by inviting public input, promoting economic development, transparency and identification of high-priority projects, improve intergovernmental and regional cooperation, help maintain a sound and stable financial program, and enhance opportunities for the participation in federal and/or state grant programs. The CIP budget process precedes the budget process and identifies projects for the CIP that will serve residents and anticipate the needs of an evolving and dynamic community. The following documents were considered in preparation of the CIP: Master Plan for Land Use, Strategic Plan, Village Council 2023, Water System Master Plan, results of the sewer televising studies, Downtown Development Plan from 2015, Parks and Recreation Plan from 2014, Parking Lot Inventory and Analysis, Sidewalk Prioritization, which simplified is from the core downtown outward. The preparation of this capital improvement plan was overseen by the village manager and staff. Staff developed the initial project needs, wants, and wishes, the project list, developed project prioritization, sought input from the village council, planning commission, DDA, key external stakeholders, evaluated and refined projects to develop the final CIP. We also included multiple survey instruments distributed to business owners, building owners, specified neighborhoods that were organized, as well as included a survey and all utility bills that were sent in the last quarter. Generally, in upcoming years, the time frame of updating the CIP plan will develop a project wish list in January of 25, identify the project cost in January and February, educate and engage the public, survey virtual and public meetings February, March, and April, develop prioritization and project evaluation in March and April. The village manager shall prepare a draft CIP for the Planning Commission review in May, have draft available for public review and input May and June, and village council adoption in June of 2025. We have done, for those of you that have been on the Planning Commission multiple years, a very brief covering of CIP plans up until this year. It was focused a lot of internal due to the financial well-being or lack thereof of the village finances, as well as since 2017, a stated priority number one goal of multiple councils each year was the building of the village hall we now stand in, and their steadfast expectation that it was paid for in cash, which has been accomplished. That leads us to a more in-depth CIP. What we've provided is specific funding accounts and dollars associated that prior councils have in an assignment to each of these codes. All of these predominantly are internal codes. We have scheduled out, we have it now where every 5 years a DPW pickup will be purchased. Every other year a police cruiser will be purchased, and so on, with saving money for other associated equipment that's documented. We've also the parking lot. When I speak of the downtown parking lot, I'm speaking of behind the hardware store, Distant Whistle, the Hills buildings, or west of Main Street. We have started to save money for that CIP project, and we also have saved in the generic code for parks and rec park improvements, as well as a recreational parking lot. Our goal is to meet the expectations of the village council to have cash in hand moving forward on a CIP project regardless of that investment. Part of the process is in fiscal years to look at every available outside funding source, whether it is grants through the federal or state system or externally, and we'll continue to do so. I have listed 7 items that the village council has already approved for CIP purchases. They are the road work, which is $221,915 that will be done in the village in the fiscal year. A commitment to village-wide curbside pickup, which will occur in the month of September. A plow truck. This plow truck was purchased from the city of Kalamazoo. New plow trucks are running about $175,000. This is a 2009 that was purchased under the last fiscal year for $20,000, and then needs the new bed and some maintenance in it that's listed there. Also for the DPW, a leaf truck replacement that's replacing a 30-year-old vehicle to be updated. For the Vicksburg Police Department, new in-car and body camera recording system. It's noteworthy that the initial one that was, I think, 7 years ago, at least 6 or 7 years ago, we had the assistance of a 50% grant from the Vicksburg Foundation, and I highlight that because of our experience and my experience with the foundation. They especially enjoy programs that they've assisted in the funding initially. The entity finds value in the system, and we certainly have in this and are fully funding it to be upgraded. Also, the purchase of 4 stationary speed. We've all seen them where they're solar powered. As you enter the community, it'll flash your your speed, and hopefully you're at 25 miles an hour or under for the safety of our citizens. Also, a T-mower has been approved by the council for Angels Crossing Golf Course. There will be some internal CIP items put in front of the council as well. I anticipate the potential of 2 green mowers for Angels Crossing, and that will go straight to the council for their approval. I have put a blank 5x7 card in front of you. I would like you to fill out. We have identified seven CIP projects. They are a new municipal parking lot behind the South Main businesses to the west. Construct a multi-purpose park with pickleball courts, skateboard park, and new children's play equipment. Resurfacing of the parking lot at the recreational park disc golf course. A veterans memorial. A makeover of Clark Park. Reconstruction of Sunset Lake Park and specifically enhancements to the beach. And continuing a non-motorized trail system towards the village of Schoolcraft. Without looking, hopefully, at the results of the public input, but we're looking for the Planning Commission's individual, and I'll read them again, to place number 1, what your individual priority would be. Your choices for the top priority are a new municipal parking lot behind Main Street businesses to the west, behind the Hardware Hills, a multi-purpose park with new children's play equipment, pickleball courts, and a skateboard park, resurfacing of the parking lot at the recreational park, a veterans memorial, a makeover of Clark Park, reconstruction of Sunset Lake Park and specifically enhancements to the beach, and continuing a non-motorized trail system towards the village of Schoolcraft. That's for your top priority. For the second priority, it would be one of the 7. New municipal parking lot downtown, multi-purpose park, resurfacing the parking lot at the recreational park, a veterans memorial, makeover of Clark Park, reconstruction of Sunset Lake Park with enhancements to the beach, with a non-motorized trail system. Yes. Yeah, that you can put the letter if that works better, or one, write down the numbers 1 down to 7, and then put whatever your top is at the 1, and your second, your third, on down to least prioritized. These would be able to be made public. We'll just collect them and it'll be part of the subsequent paragraphs that will ultimately be presented next week to the village council. And if the chairman so desires, I'm happy to have a conversation about what priorities the individual members had, 1 through 7. Give a few minutes to complete that. I will inform the board that we won't be going through it tonight. It'll be a resolution on June 24th that will be presented to the village council adopting this CIP as part of the budget approval process. It'll be noticed in the public, but right now we've targeted June 24th at 7 p.m. with a backup date of June 28th if by chance it would be needed.
Did you get a lot of feedback from people when this was live?
47 responses to the surveys, so. And I have we put in the surveys, top priority was an attempt to be completed within 2 years, where the next level priority was within 5. The least level was in 10. I've indicated the percentage response in a ranked order, with the first column being the priority to complete within 2 years, the second column in 5 years, so then a total percentage. The top 3 are statistically equivalent from the citizens, and then 4, and that it moves down from there. But this is the first year, and I would cite it came out of the discussions we were having at the time with RRC and best practices, so that's where we started to send out surveys specific to CIP projects to get citizens' input, and we'll continue to do so next Monday, as well as, I think it's June 3rd, June 17th, and June 24th, in front of the council, if public so desires to make their comments. But be happy to answer any questions, or if there wants to be a discussion.
Member Wartella, Jim, back from my days on the Parks and Recreation Committee, we talked about several of these. It's nice to see them back and going again with the possibility of this work being done, especially the Clark Park and Sunset Lake Park. I was wondering about the Veterans Memorial. It's probably been 2 or 3 years ago that was rather a hot item. Is that maybe still something that's hot, or?
Yeah, you're correct. 2 years ago, we actually had drawings done, so we have those, which are key to have when soliciting outside funding or grant opportunities, as well as a budget. That at that time, it was $178,000. And with this building and other items identified that need to be put a pause on it. And some of the feedback, as you can see the results from the public, where at least the public who's participated indicated that the multi-purpose park and the new parking lot downtown and a makeover to Clark Park was the top 3 priorities, at least from the public, but it is still on the list. The new multi-purpose park, this fiscal year, we invested in having sketch drawings done of that park with a budget, so we're prepped as well to look for outside funding in that area, that there's both federal and state opportunities, with the state deadline being February 10th of 2025. That's a potential project that we put in through that grant process.
One more, if I could, please.
Yeah.
Under village road work, has the village ever thought of, or have they established a yearly replacement or upgrade of pavement marking throughout the village, a contract for pavement marking or signing?
It's not on this list. It very well could be, because at the last council meeting, that was approved. It's up to $50,000 this year. I just got a call today that could start as early as tomorrow. We did have a talk about the availability of the downtown streets come Friday and specifically Saturday. So we're going to finalize that, but it's a very, very comprehensive village-wide street marking, crosswalk marking, railroad marking program that has been approved by the council and should actually be number 8. So
one last, if I might, and I promise. On, I guess, the first page, that you have a lot of vehicles and equipment and so on. Is that new equipment that you're going to be purchasing, and is it going to be part of a pool across the
I got to go
state?
back to where. Oh, on this page. No, it has a goal and a time life expended for the equipment that we currently have in stock. We do have the data that would show how long that equipment's gonna last. So I'll call it the savings program is based on the cost of a new piece of that equipment listed. Knowing the cost of, back I think 3 years ago was the first time we purchased a used plow truck from the city of Kalamazoo, which was an '07. And fully outfitted and everything, we'll have $40,000 to $45,000 a piece into these trucks. So when those opportunities come available, we went ahead and acted on getting that updated. That 2009 replaces a 2000 plow truck that now is kind of in reserve, where before if we had a truck down for maintenance during a storm, we'd be shorthanded. Now we have 4, so we have 2 in reserve and 2 frontline vehicles. So, and plus the old vehicles were automatic or manual transmissions, and the 2 updated ones are automatic. So,
Thank you, Jim.
yeah.
A question regarding just logistics of how this shows up in the budget. Is this CIP plan a special subset of the budget, or is it kind of factored in, rolled into the operating budget?
It's as I've listed and talked about now, those 8 items within the 24-25 budget that will be formally presented on June 24th. So the fiscal year we're entering into for approval will list out those year's CIPs, but the 6-year document is a standalone document that keeps those expectations and goals with priorities as a standalone document.
So in the operating budget, I think you use the word kind of like a savings account. You're putting money into the savings account for
Correct.
the CIP.
It's unique. It's part of the public presentation of the audit. Most communities won't. They'll list out a 6-year plan, which is fairly easy if you don't have to worry about potentially where you're funding it, especially if you have a revolving bond or you're going to go into debt for some of those items. But with the added emphasis from the council to ensure that you have the cash, that becomes the CIP becomes a little bit more fluid. In the example Mr. Wertella gave, we were fully intended to move forward with the Veterans Memorial that next fiscal year. And I believe, Don might help me remember, I believe a couple things happened. Was the observation deck at Clark Park and the boardwalk at Sunset Park over the course of winter or whatever, all of a sudden moved those priorities. So when we had to shift those general fund dollars to those 2 projects that I think were about $53,000, we knew the Veterans Memorial would be held off at that point. So though it was in the CIP to be done that fiscal year, in the development of this CIP, it's gone down a couple years. So we're, and again, specific to the multi-purpose park, there's specific grant opportunities through natural resources for parks. For parking lots, there's other potential grant opportunities. The other thing with that you become involved in is you represent the Downtown Development Authority as well. We have that revenue stream. So you'll see out of general fund, we have about $115,000 that is earmarked for that. But in your June meeting, you'll know the specific dollar of what we've saved through our Downtown Development Authority for that project as well. So it hopefully compounds here, and I'm hoping that no later than 2 years we would be able to complete that project for cash, even if we didn't get a grant.
Any further comments or questions for staff regarding the capital improvement plan?
The one thing I will add quickly is some items that impact the CIP plan is, and it was brought up in front of the council at their last meeting, the Sunset Lake Dam is being reconstructed, which is under the authority of the Drain Commissioner. It's going to be, on round numbers, about a $2.7 million project. The redesign of this new structure, and a lot of behind the scenes between the two staffs have worked on this, impacted Washington Street and the culvert that is under Washington Street. The village was potentially looking at about $1 million worth of replacement in that section because that culvert is ours and is the roadway. Working with the engineers, we're looking at a redesign of Washington Street where it leads into a cul-de-sac west of the dam. We don't have a structure and it saves that $1 million cost. Within that savings though, we know that we want a walkability between our core downtown, Clark Park, and ultimately the mill project. So working with the drain commissioner, the Vicksburg last week submitted an appropriation under the state budgeting. Now, we hope, certainly as all communities do, that we receive it, but it's in a state budgeting process, so we respect that. But gonna publicly thank Senator Sean McCann and his staff for working with me last week to get that submitted for a pedestrian bridge that has a substantial price tag, about $500,000. But in the design of it, it leads into a beautification of Clark Park as the next domino in that attractive walkability between those points. So there's items like that that are kind of parallel streams, and when one of those catches momentum, it could impact the adjustment of the CIP as well to keep that going. And that's a real life, I guess, example of what's gone on in the last 2 weeks.
If there are no further comments or questions, I will call for a motion to support the CIP plan as presented.
This is Member Blankenhorn. I make a motion to support the approval of the CIP plan as presented.
We have a motion from Blankenhorn. Do we have support for that motion?
This is Member Bishop. I support.
Support by Bishop. Any further conversation? Secretary Cox, please take a roll call vote.
Chairman Schenkel,
Yes.
Member Bailey. Yes. Member DeVault,
Yes.
Member Field,
Yes?
Member Bishop,
Yes.
Member Blankenhorn,
Yes.
Member Mortella,
Yes.
Member Cox is a yes.
One thing, if Christian can leave this up, and it's, so this, to give you an example, and I think I have some one-on-one meetings coming up, but all of this, as you can see, is either kept through secure Excel or Google Sheets, goes back to when I started for the village, but it'll be a specific carry forward. We know what allocation's gonna come out in general fund savings, but in the 23-24 fiscal year, we certainly will by June 24th. What's going to carry out in 25 to keep that money to be able to be assigned and committed, as well as have 30% unrestricted reserve fund, which is a council expectation. So I just put that up there for a visual aid. So we can go ahead and go back to the agenda since I didn't bring mine up here. I think DDA is next, but
The sketch plan.
oh, thank goodness I take a break. Who I am going to introduce, though, is Ryan Collins. He's been in front of this board on multiple occasions. Ryan represents Frederick Construction, and he has further information. It is our goal, you've certainly discussed and have action items that have been in front of you at previous meetings, reference a car wash coming to town. I applaud the developer, Mr. and Mrs. Pearson, on that development, as they've really been committed to use local resources and have engaged Frederick Construction on this project. We are prepping it behind the scenes right now for a June site plan presentation to the Planning Commission at your June meeting. And we felt it would be good to bring Ryan in tonight. He has sketch plans, can give an overall high altitude of where the project's at. And, but the engineering plans to the planning commission specifications are being worked on, but we felt it would be a good lead into next month's meeting. So with that, Mr. Collins.
Good evening. Been a little while. So we've been working with Patrick Pearson and his wife for the past 3 months or so. They came to our office, contacted us for a new car wash. It's going at a new address that just got assigned, 320 East Vine Street, so across from the liquor store pretty much on the corner. And the spot we're at right now is, you know, we've done some conceptual budgeting for him. That part worked. We've been through some environmental work. Phase 2's completed. We have the results of that. We've completed soil borings. We've had this in the hands of our civil designer for approximately almost 2 weeks. They're hard at it trying to get together the final site plan for this so that we can present it to you folks for your initial review, comments, etc. We're engaging an architect as well for this as of this week. So they're going to spot the building for us. We already know the structure. It's going to be a 2 automatic bay car wash. So we'll have 2 automatic bays with an equipment room right in the center. And what I've done to date is we've submitted a couple applications out in front of this with a small site plan sketch. I did email it to Jim. I don't know if we have that up or not. I didn't bring a bunch of copies with me, but yeah, it was very preliminary. It's just me taking the size of the building, plopping it on the piece of land, showing where the owner would like to have the entrances and exits. We have a full understanding of the residential neighborhood right behind it, so we're understanding we're going to have to do some screening there. Vacuums, things like that will be at the street side to help mitigate noise. They're super excited. You know, this is their first project of this go. They came into our office personally to meet with Mike and Stephanie and myself. We don't get that an awful lot, but it's a really big deal to them. This is a bit of their retirement, and this gentleman has a lot of experience in car washes. That was what he was into for 30, 40 years, and now this is a retirement gig. So, you know, that's where we're at with things, and I open it up to any questions you might have. This is just really a, hey, this is coming at you, get prepared, and we hope to have something in front of you next month.
Yeah, I just sent it. Christian will bring it up on the, it's preliminary site plan revised. I think a couple things that I will note when Christian brings this up. So there's 3, I guess.
Right there.
Yeah. So on this, I think is important, and I think it shows the commitment to community this developer has. We got talking about not only the construction, but we obviously have a residential neighborhood to the east. This isn't a C2 zoning, so it is zoned appropriately. We've gone through that process. But being cognizant of that neighborhood being so close, the developer, where on normal automatic car washes, what drives a car
And I will add, the privacy fence is, as a placeholder, we may berm something there with some evergreens or something of that nature. We just don't, we don't know that quite yet until we get through civil, but, so we're cognizant of that barrier between the residential and the commercial property to mitigate sound and everything else that goes on there, so.
Ryan, where is this in relationship to that metal buildings that's there? Is it,
So the metal building is just to the south of this property. The yellow lines you see, Don, are the property lines, if you will, on the plat map. And unfortunately, the Google shot we have here does not quite show the metal buildings of, I believe Freilings may own that still, so, yeah.
any
Matter
thought?
of fact, you can see just coming into play there, a shadow of it, if you will.
I know you're preliminary. Is there any thoughts to driveway access off of Richardson or off of Vine?
So
Both?
we, say that again, please, Don. What was that question?
Driveways access to this, is it off of Richardson or Vine or both?
So basically, we're coming in off of Vine. We're gonna enter right there where it says entrance off of Vine, and then we're planning on exiting onto Vine, is the plan. We do have a couple curb cuts that are there right now, but the intention is just to come off of Vine with traffic and whatnot. I think that's a better plan for it. Thank you.
I might have misunderstood. I think we saw another drawing of this maybe on the council earlier, or kind of something sketched out, but was there supposed to be manual wash
So that was
bays
the
too?
original, that was the
Okay.
very original plan that he came to us with, and had since decided to go with, there are two different type of automatics though. There's a touchless, and then there's a
Soft
the
cloth.
soft cloth. So he's providing both of those.
So they're just going to do away with the manual option?
Yes,
Okay.
right now, yeah.
It does have room to expand, but in his research and in my discussions with him, the industry has seen with the do-it-yourself type of car wash that the maintenance involved in that increases considerably from people changing oils into those bays and that type of stuff, so.
Ryan, I'm assuming that this meets all of the zoning requirements for that area?
This is going to be, it's not up for action item. It needs to be reviewed and worked with staff, and we'll have that recommendation. We anticipate it certainly will meet all the C2s, but we're nowhere near that point yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Any further questions or comments? We'll see you back in June.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mallory, the DDA agenda.
Yes, we did want to solicit input. My watch went off, so I got my number of steps in, so if you're okay with it, I'll just stay right here. But we certainly have prepped the DDA budget to continue to include public benefit grants as well as Berg Days the summer of 2025. Just as a memory point, we do have outside funding as well already secured for 2025 from the Vicksburg Foundation in the amount of $20,000. But this was your time with your DDA hats on to have a conversation about other items. Some of the historical areas, we certainly have administrative charge off. Some communities, which is probably the more normal way, would be to charge that DDA area for hours spent snow plowing, hours spent weeding and upkeeping, parking lot maintenance, striping. What we've done historically is just set a flat amount that the DDA contributes to the general fund for those expenses, and it has a portion of my compensation package, which I believe, and if it's not 5%. I will correct it at the next meeting, but I believe it is 5% for my time spent on DDA type stuff. But John, if I know you've been probably the longest representing the DDA, but I just felt it would be good before we present the actual budget at your June meeting for your approval to seek some input on what board members might be thinking.
Jim, could I ask maybe to provide some guidance or some clarity on maybe the goals of the DDA budget? What do you typically prefer to see those funds allocated towards? What type of items or events or items that you've typically seen in the past?
Certainly, you know, on marketing, we had, I'm going to start one step back. There will be a presentation to the council and to the DDA board in June. Our recommendation is to go out to bid to update the DDA plan and Parks and Rec plan. Now that we're on track to have a master plan adopted. So that would be an exercise that would, I envision the DDA plans contract, if all that's approved, by October 1st, and the Parks and Rec the following spring. So this is a fiscal year that I believe some of the traditional stuff we've done in the last few, like the public participation grants, incentivizing developers and business owners for higher end investments, where I think the maximum award is $15,000, and we try to get as many of them at 50% at least as we can, as well as having the events downtown, Berg Days, Christmas in the Berg. We're gonna the birthday celebration, try to make annual. We've also had initial talks with the Chamber of Commerce that the village take over the iceberg and take the lead in that. And I think the exercise coming out of a new DDA plan will get us to the next level when we have that input that's facilitated by that outside company. So what our revenue, you know, 5-6 years ago was $67,000 in revenue. Next year we're anticipating about $90,000 of revenue, which is a positive indication. There'll be a presentation again to commit money to that parking lot, which leads to dual entrance of those buildings, the ability to rent those buildings half and half on the first floor for commercial space. And I'm not dancing around the question. I think just being straightforward, this fiscal year is kind of a status quo of what's worked the last couple, and really put an emphasis into digging in and getting quality input on what people want invested in the next 5 years. I am well on record as personally in my professional role opposed that the town is not big enough, nor is the revenue enough to have a paid director of the DDA. You're going to eat up your funds and not be able to provide services that we've demonstrated could be provided. So on the other side of the teeter-totter, I'm pretty resolute in that that's not needed.
So are you looking for discussion from this body on kind of needs, wants, and wishes for DDA?
Yeah, which hopefully facilitate a more in-depth question or discussion, I should say, at the next meeting. But if you had ideas to let us know that, and we can certainly be prepped in any areas that haven't historically been done on the pros and cons of utilizing DDA funds for that. Part of the thing, so you know too, and it's multi-layered, going to look for putting out a request for qualifications, reference our public platforms, whether it be websites, and what that expands into, and it all continue to build on a marketing plan that we feel we've generated and have the data to show more involvement with the village of Vicksburg than before.
Yeah, I'll just share.
People feel comfortable, they feel safe, and it's a vibrant place to come and walk around, to patronize businesses, and have that kind of consistency approach to it. For that reputation known as a destination, Vicksburg is a destination, is one that can reach more people, and I think that's a good use of our funds as part of this budget.
Do you want input from us right now as well, of needs, wants, and wishes? One of the things the downtown really needs is permanent public restrooms to accommodate Clark Park and the complementary of the new Oswald Park. That's one of the main things, especially during the Berg days, the usage of that, all the events that are going on downtown. One of the other things I just commented was our wayfind, or our business identification signage on the corners. I know I've always said that for the last 6 years of Main Street and Prairie. Even though we've had quite a few turnovers of businesses, but 90% of us are still there. And it's just something there that I wanted to bring up. The wintertime stuff, we need more input and participation on winter events. It seems to be kind of just stale around town on the wintertime. Whether we had an ice skate park or something over at the pavilion that they could seal off the floor and make an ice skating rink out of that for there. I know Millennium really fell on their butt this year, but the Millennium Park in Portage, but who knows what the weather's gonna do to us. So that's just something.
In the budget for your approval the next meeting.
Great. Any further comments on DDA budget? All right, we will move on to member comments.
I apologize.
Oh,
It stirred
okay.
But, because I did get asked this earlier and it involves the downtown. We have ordered and should hopefully receive all of the new outdoor patio umbrellas for all our downtown seating. Many of them faded using them as much as we did last year, so we invested in all new ones. So hopefully by Saturday, which I'll remind everyone is the 151st and a half birthday celebration, starting at 11 o'clock with silent disco, leading into kids' activities at 2 and music at 3 and 5. Ryan Collins, you asked, it's a Fleetwood Mac tribute band at 5 o'clock. Very well known. Appreciate it. We also appreciate bringing a little bit of that Collins juice to spend in our shops downtown, so, all right. So you'll see those umbrellas go up. And I do want to, we aren't really discussing the weather. I think I had some echoing in the background, but we'll just let nature play its course. But a shout out to DPW's really, last week they were assisting Portage with cleanup there, and so doubling their efforts to make sure downtown, you'll see hopefully the street sweep, painting, but on Thursday and Friday, the street sweeper will be through downtown and everything, so looking forward to it.
Now we will go to member comments. I just want to say
Oh. Thought I saw a hand. Oh, that was a wave off.
Okay. I want to say thanks to Jackie for all of your work. That was a really interesting presentation. I learned something new about you, and that you are a avid Tigers fan. And so the baseball analogy that you used to create an analogy around what you did was really helpful, and appreciate all the work that you did into that. That was really great. And as a developer on the other end, that is a helpful tool for people to come and look at our municipality as a friendly place to invest their funds, and it is sought after as a reputable source. So thank you. Hearing no more comments, I will close this meeting at 8:12. Thank you.
Want these?